Welcome back into the Viking Central podcast. We have a special guest with us here today, Rick Sosa. Rick, how are we doing?
Hey, doing fantastic. Thanks for having me over, and I hope you guys are all excited for one more Viking season coming up here in 2024. I know I am. So
Oh, yeah.
glad to be here, guys.
Yeah, well, thanks for hopping on. We really appreciate it. You've kind of been at the front of it all. You've been at training camp, correct? A couple times the last week
Yeah.
or so.
Yes, I have.
You got any hot takes for us?
Oh, I got plenty of them. It was 90 degrees the first time. I mean, it's been a scorching experience. Unless you're in one of those beautiful tents with the shade or whatever. It's always hot, but there's definitely a lot of chatter and a lot of expectation when it comes down to the quarterback position.
Sure.
As we all know, I mean, we went through a quite an interesting off season of the uncertainty with Kirk Cousins staying, leaving. Then he leaves, and then now what? And then go through the whole process of scouting the quarterback. And is it Drake May? Is it not Drake May? JJ McCarthy shows up. And so the talk of the town is McCarthy, and there's now, of course, like there's always with Vikings, the fan base, there's always divided opinions.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people want McCarthy to start game one against the Giants on September 8th, and a lot of people want the development. They want him to not start, to kind of follow the path of the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, where they just kind of sit back and learn and understand how the transition to the professional game is. And others are like, throw them out there. Let's go.
Yeah, for sure. And dude, I mean, like I said before we even started this thing, I'm super excited because I'm a huge fan of yours in general. Big, here's the number one thing. What I love about Rick Sosa is you're gonna get what you're gonna get. There's gonna be an opinion, and whatever that opinion is, that's what you get, and that's what you stick to, and that's what you live and die by. And I think that you, especially in today's day and age, you miss a lot of that. This with a lot of media personalities, people give opinions, they twist it, they make it sound like they were right, they weren't right, they were this, they were that. But Rick, man, you are one authentic SOB, and it's so much to be appreciated about you, man. And I can't thank you enough for coming on, because I just think that you got some things to say, and I think it needs to be heard. I really do, and I love it. I love it, man. So thank you for being on.
I've been called a lot of things, but never an authentic SOB. I like that one. I like that one.
Dude, authentic SOB. You should get shirts made. Authentic, either one authentic SOB or authentic AF. Rick Sosa. That's what it should be, dude. Because you're your authentic self, right? Am I right by saying that, or am I like way off the cusp here?
No, absolutely. I mean, as you guys know, there's a process to brand yourself in social media, and everybody gets to learn what you're about, and how you express your opinions and what have you. And I have my style, and I have the things that I believe in, and the way about conducting myself, and that's always been kind of my trademark. And a lot of people like it, a lot
For
of people
sure.
don't, and that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, good. Exactly. That's 100% what I expected to hear. So, super excited about this season coming up. I know you are. It is. I mean, I feel like the Vikings are definitely in some kind of transition period at the moment. When you go from a veteran quarterback like Kirk Cousins to drafting somebody and picking up someone who hasn't quite lived up to their potential in Sam Darnold to kind of get the season off started or what have you. I mean, what does Rick Sosa expect of this year? What are your hopes versus expectations for the upcoming season for the Vikings?
Well, as everybody knows, I mean, I'm a huge Vikings fan, so obviously my expectation is to, someday, see the team, play in a Super Bowl and have the opportunity of, in our lifetime to see them in that venue and be able to maybe even lift the Lombardi. I mean, that's what we all want. And I some people think that this could be a rebuilding year and that, things have to kind of be looking more into 2025. I have a hard time with that, and I'm going to tell you why. I mean, football is such a unique sport that it's hard to tell a football player, hey, you know what? This is just a rebuilding year, so you can just kind of cruise and collect the paycheck. And I mean, those guys, the sacrifices they go through in the off season, all the camps and whatever else, and the punishment they take. I just cannot see a football team taking a year off. I just don't believe in that. I never will believe in that. I think everybody's got to always go with full throttle, because again, I also as fans, no one's charging us half the price of a ticket, right? We got to pay the full boat. So I expect 110% effort. So my expectation is the Vikings are going to contend for the division. It might be too high of an expectation considering what the Detroit Lions did last year. And of course, everybody, here comes the annoying, train of talking to the Green Bay Packers and how Jordan Love is now this fantastic quarterback after, a 7-game good stretch. I always try to remind everybody, if you guys remember Matt Castle, when he replaced Tom Brady back, in the early 2000s with the Patriots, he had a stretch of, it was about 7 games. If you go 10 years before that, I mean, you guys might not remember this name, but there was a guy by the name of Scott Mitchell.
Of course.
Scott Mitchell also had a string of about 7 games that he looked like he was Joe Montana. And of course, we found out in Detroit that wasn't the case. So I tend to be very skeptical of this, Cinderella stories of, 7 games that were good for a quarterback. I need to see more consistency before I crown him the next Rodgers. I hope it's not the next Rodgers. Otherwise,
we all do. We're tired of it.
We're in big trouble. Chicago's kind of a question mark. We don't know really what's going to happen there. So yeah, I mean, I don't think the Vikings are going to necessarily be contending with Sam Darnold. I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there for those who thought that Darnold was going to be some kind of a great thing. I don't think so. I hope I'm wrong. I think McCarthy is going to be the starter sooner than later. People ask me, is it going to be week 1? I don't know about that because I think Kevin O'Connell has a plan, and I think his plan is Darnold starts at the Meadowlands, and I'm not sure that he's going to deviate from that. But I know McCarthy. My prediction is that McCarthy will play in England. That's kind of my day that I have. Some people have said after the bye week. I believe it's like the following week or something like that. So somewhere in there, I think McCarthy takes over. And I expect the Vikings to be successful. I mean, the first 4 games. I mean, it's kind of a brutal stretch. I mean, not the Giants, but the next 3. Man, I mean, we could be 1-3 real fast, and that's what McCarthy would take over. But one thing that a lot of people aren't talking about is the defense. I think the defense is gonna have a big impact on the Vikings season. So everybody's honing in on McCarthy, Darnold, whatever. I think Brian Flores, he's been kind of going back to the drawing board, and he might have some new schemes that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
So you've been.
Go ahead, Ryan.
All right, you've been to quite a few training camp practices already. What is it you see? Speaking of the defense, what is it you see out of the defense that you like so far the most?
I get excited when I see the ones out there. Obviously, the starting defense, and I've been very critical of Sam Darnold this camp because Darnold has looked very nervous, and he's made a lot of mistakes, and he's made a lot of
is he seeing ghosts?
Bad decisions and goals and all that. but I think I don't want to excuse him from it, but I do believe that he's completely overwhelmed with the Brian Flores defense. I think I've been critical of Darnold, but I think the reason for that is because the looks that he's getting, I think are confusing to him.
And to your point, not to interrupt, but to your point, like we have to understand right now, the scrimmages that they're having at practice are against their own defense. They're not scrimmaging against a defense from a different team. So when you say Sam Darnold has looked rough against the Brian Flores defense, it's because he's actually facing the Vikings' actual defense. It's not like they're prepping for a different team or something like that. And I think that point is something that really needs to be driven home, especially as we see what people are talking about on Vikings social media. So just to reiterate your point, I totally agree with what you're saying.
The only thing I would say is I just hope that his confidence doesn't take a toll, because even though we know it's the Vikings defense and that's not what he's going to, I just don't want him to slowly but surely lose confidence, because he knows he's got McCarthy breathing down his neck. He knows that. So I just hope that, Darnold has been a guy that I think he drives himself with confidence, meaning if his confidence isn't there, we've seen what the things he can do, which are not good things. So that part of it concerns me, because if Flores' defense gets him to a point where he loses confidence in himself, that could be problematic.
Agreed. I mean, he's had confidence issues like his whole career, so this is not going to help better that in any certain way. And this is his best cast around him offensively. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, two really solid running backs, and Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. But you've been, like I said, you've been at training camp, and Jonesy will like this question. He's a big vibes guy. So what's the general vibe at training camp? So, is there a good vibe going around? Do you feel like there's confidence on the defense side of the ball? And you said Sam's kind of been a little shaky in that regard, but how's the rest of the team's vibe kind of looking over there?
The vibe is a great point. One of the things that I've noticed is I've noticed a lot less people, a lot less fans at the TCO compared to other years.
Sure.
And that's an indicator. That's a vibe. That's an indicator that the fan base is kind of like, not so sure about this 2024 season. I'm not as excited about it, kind of a thing. That's my interpretation when I walk into the complex, and I'm used to seeing maybe twice as many people, kind of walking around with the vendors and the games for the kids or whatever else. I've noticed a decline.
What do you think? Do you think there's something that specifically that attributes to that, or you think it's just that most people probably believe that this is kind of a transition year? And if so, what do you have to say to fans? What should the message be to people who would normally be attending training camp that maybe aren't?
Well, to me, it's twofold, and this is where I jump, back in my Kirk Cousins horse. I think it's twofold. I think the fan base, or part of the fan base, is thinking, it's a transition year. We don't. I mean, not. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, most people, the average casual fan, is not going to be excited about a Sam Darnold Vikings team. I mean, that's a fact. And then you got the rookie with McCarthy, and people are still kind of skeptical. Is he really the savior or the guy that can be a franchise? So there's that, and then there's the other piece, which I do believe that some part of the fan base is not happy that Cousins is not around anymore. I mean, this is flat out the truth. Yeah. So I think you have all those factors, in combination. And I think that's the result of what I've seen as less people in the complex.
I think the Darnold points is a good one. I think the fan base expects a full season of Sam Darnold, because they haven't been told otherwise. Like they've really been downplaying JJ McCarthy. They haven't really been. You could even see like Vikings social media, Vikings Entertainment Network. There hasn't been anything really out about JJ McCarthy, like to get the first round draft pick, top 10 quarterback ever in Vikings history, like hyped up at all. So I think the fan base is just expecting a Sam Darnold led team this year. And after seeing Kirk Cousins for the last 6, yeah, I don't think fans are too excited about it. So
yeah, I think, obviously he may have been a top 10 draft pick, but he was also the 5th quarterback taken off the board. So it's kind of hard to like turn around and think like, oh my God, like let's rally, let's be excited about this guy. And I mean, Rick, not to, put you on the spot, but you weren't the biggest JJ McCarthy fan going into the draft. Not that you weren't a fan, but you definitely said pretty flat out you preferred Drake May and Jaden Daniels over JJ McCarthy, which, Vikings ended up with JJ McCarthy. Having those thoughts initially in your mind and then going into training camp, seeing how he's performed so far, again, it's training camp, it's limited reps. They're not throwing the whole book at him so far. They're going to make sure that they build his confidence. So obviously he's going to look to par so far, but how would you analyze your pre-draft analysis of the quarterback position versus what you've seen so far in training camp?
Well, as we all know, the future of a quarterback that gets drafted into the NFL, a big part of it relies on the situation that the player arrives in. So everybody talks about Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes arguably the best quarterback in history, but he landed in just the perfect situation with Andy Reid and the Chiefs, upcoming and great defense and blah blah blah. So Mahomes, with his talent, he landed in the perfect situation. So you look at places like New England, and we've heard the reports coming out of New England that May is not doing the greatest. But that doesn't necessarily mean that May is a bad quarterback. It just means that he landed at a place where it's not conducive to his development or whatever ability he can bring to the team. So McCarthy is arriving at a place with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, a good offensive line, and a very, very quarterback friendly coach that comes from the Sean McVay tree. The spread offense, throw the ball over the place. So it's conducive for a quarterback to develop and do well and so forth. Now, I was a Drake May guy because to me, Drake May represented the Vikings swinging for the fence, versus settling. That's why I was a proponent of May, and the Vikings had a deal put together for May that the New England Patriots backed out in last minute on draft night. So the Vikings wanted May, and that's not a secret. The Vikings wanted Drake May, and when the Patriots back out last minute, well, then the Vikings had to move on to what the next plan was, which was McCarthy. And I had a chance to be at Indianapolis for the combine. Drake May did not participate in any of the activities or whatever drills, so I didn't get to see Drake May. But I got to see McCarthy, and I think McCarthy can be a very good quarterback. Again, he's landing in a really good situation, so I'm not upset with that we got McCarthy. I think McCarthy can be very good. I just always thought that May's ceiling was much higher. Now we'll never know because May did not land with Kevin O'Connell on the Vikings, so we'll never know what could have been. But I do feel that McCarthy can still be that franchise quarterback because of the situation he landed in, and every day he's looking better and better. And the opposite of Sam Darnold, he's looking more confident. That he can make different kinds of throws. The so-called he can't throw to his left. I think that's a bunch of baloney because I've seen him make throws to his left in camp that I don't think he has any problems. And of course, when you're throwing to Justin Jefferson, left, right, center, or whatever, I mean that's always going to be a huge advantage.
Yeah, no doubt. You alluded to it a little bit. I just want to touch on it. You said that the Vikings had a deal in place with the Patriots that they backed out on. What can you tell us a little bit more about that? Do you know the intricacies about the deal? Do you know any of the details, what the deals may have been? I know that, you're a little more plugged in than what most people believe, but people want to know, like, hey, if there was a deal in place, what was the deal?
Yeah, actually, that info or intel, whatever, came to me straight from New England. It did not come from Minnesota. So it was multiple picks, and of course the Vikings were trying to be aggressive, which again you can't blame them for wanting to be aggressive. It was the time in franchise history to be aggressive like that. It just happens to be that New England got greedy and they said, you know what, I thought I wanted this many picks, but now I actually want two more.
Yeah.
So I
You
mean,
know
it
what the
gets
tipping point was?
it was multiple picks, and New England
Yeah.
wanted more. So,
Wow.
but it was a last minute. Hey, you know what? I thought about it. I think I want more, because they,
Wow.
they knew the Vikings were like all in.
Mhm.
So they just started to pull a fast one at the very end, and you can't really blame Quessy for being like, okay, hold on a second. I mean, you're trying to. You asked me for my shirt. Now you want my shorts and my socks and everything
Yeah.
else. It's like
But
no,
y
I'm not gonna do that.
So you can confirm, though, that the Vikings' original plan was Drake May?
Oh, it's 100%,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, and that makes
That's
sense. I mean, they're going big game hunting. That's for sure. And landing JJ McCarthy as a consolation prize isn't the worst thing, like you said, because Kevin O'Connell's offense, intermediate passing, downfield passing. I think McCarthy really excels at that intermediate 10, 15, 20 yards down the field. So I think that's going to fit really well. And like you said, who knows if he's going to be the week one starter? And I kind of asked this question on X Twitter today. Like, what's your percent chance that JJ McCarthy would be the week one starter in your opinion?
I say 1%. I mean, I,
1%.
I just think they have a plan,
Yeah.
and barring an injury from Darnold or something like that. And you know what, guys, we're gonna find out on Saturday. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think if you see Sam Darnold play on Saturday against the Raiders, that's gonna be a tell that, okay, hold on a second, they're really thinking about this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If Sam Darnold is not suited up on Saturday, if he doesn't even suit up and he's just there as a bystander, then that's your confirmation that Darnold is going to be the starter for the Giants game. That's
That's a
why
great point.
I put it at a very, very low percentage.
Yeah.
For sure. I think we're going to see a lot of McCarthy and a lot of Jaron Hall on Saturday, in my opinion. I feel like Nick Mullins could be traded, to be honest with you, but we'll see. I mean, he's great for the quarterback room, but if they can swing a 6th or 7th for him, I don't think they'd have any problem. So I think he's in a contract year and everything like that, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But that is a great point, Rick. Because if he does play, I mean, what has gotten to the point where he shouldn't play? Like, he hasn't done
Right.
anything in his career, but at the same time, like you said, the Vikings have a plan. Kevin sounds like he's probably going to stick to it. So
I've said this before, and Rick, I want to know what your thoughts are. But I think the best case scenario for the Vikings is that JJ McCarthy continues to perform well. The Vikings come out of the gate. Sam Darnold has looked pretty good. They get a few wins under their belt. JJ McCarthy's ready to go. And they're able to trade Sam Darnold right out the gate for a 4th or a 5th round pick, and then get JJ McCarthy in there. What I mean, total hypothetical, obviously, but I mean, what do you think about that? What's your best case scenario?
Well, that's all going to be based on the level of play for Darnold, and
Right.
I mean they paid him a lot of money to come to Minnesota,
1
10
year,
million.
10 million. Do you think
So
that that's a possible?
well, if Darnold plays well, then someone might be interested in assuming that contract.
Mm-hmm.
If Darnold doesn't play well and he's already overpaid, then I don't see that happening. So it really is
Right.
going to depend on that. But you got to remember that putting the Giants game aside, which is going to be a difficult game because it's on the road. I mean, the next 3 games. I mean, you got the Niners, you got Texans, and you got the Packers. So I mean, if the Vikings can get some results out of those games in September, that's going to be very, very big for them.
I think Sam Darnold's looking at this the way he should be, which is basically a tryout for a job, because if he performs well, it's already set in stone, basically, that the Vikings are moving on with a draft pick for the quarterback position. So if Sam Darnold wants any hope of longevity in the NFL, this is his opportunity right here and now to perform and show out. And if he does, he gets a chance at a decent contract with another team. And if he doesn't, he's going to be a career backup.
No doubt. This is his one-time audition. If you cannot make it, if you're gonna make it with the roster he's got around him and the coach, I mean, he looked pretty decent in that one single game with the 49ers with a great team around him and Shanahan, a great coach, and whatever else. So we'll see. I mean, I guess Minnesota, in a way, they got nothing to lose. I mean, they got the rookie who needs to get acclimated. So.
For sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's going to be – yeah, go ahead, Jonesy.
No, go. You go.
I was just going to say it's going to be an exciting, several weeks just to see how this does play out. Obviously, there's more to the team than the quarterback. So I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit on, who else on this roster that you've seen has really stood out in training camp, and in your eyes, who's the main standouts in training camp so far?
The first name that comes to mind, in my opinion, has been Jalen Nailor. Nailor is a guy that the first couple of seasons, I think his body frame, his body complexion, he was a college receiver playing in the NFL. Smaller, quick, kind of the way he was in college. This season, I the first time I laid eyes on him, he looked bigger, he looked bulkier. So he's been working this offseason. I could tell right away. He looks like an NFL wide receiver. Now he doesn't look like a college wide receiver anymore.
That's probably where the injuries were piling up too, because his body just wasn't ready for the NFL.
Yes, I can tell you guys that my son, who is also an athlete, he does this the cryo treatment. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he does it at a place where Jalen, he's ran into Jalen there a number of times. So all those things tell me that Nailor has really taken this offseason very seriously, perhaps because of his injury history or whatever, but is really reflecting on the field. I mean, he's been fantastic as a wide receiver, running routes, hands, footwork. I mean, right now, I would say he's a clear-cut favorite wide receiver number 3 behind Jefferson and Addison.
Love that.
And again, it's just camp, so you don't want to get too carried away.
Sure.
But based on what I've seen, he would contribute, far more than what KJ Osborne did.
Oh, okay. You brought it up. So, have you and KJ made up?
No, I'm gonna just publicly say it. I had a chance to speak to a family member for KJ, and we have spoken about the situation and kind of sorting things out, and I think it's all good now, and I wish nothing but the best for KJ with New England. I hope he continues to have a successful career. It's not easy to make it in the NFL, let alone continue to be on a roster for a number of years. So he's a fighter, and he's been able to maintain himself in a career, successful career in the NFL, making a lot of money. So all best wishes to KJ.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, there was, a little back and forth on X between Rick and KJ. And, I don't think that there was there wasn't, I'll flat out say, based on my observation, Rick certainly wasn't targeting anything out of KJ, but you were just stating like, it's hard to win uh, with mediocre talent. And you mentioned by name KJ Osborne, along with a few others. And KJ Osborne happened to see the tweeted back at you. You defended yourself. And of course, there's a little back and forth, but if anyone really wants to look it up, they can go look it up. But that's kind of where that stems from. I certainly don't think there was any ill will toward him. You're basically stating that he is what he is, which is a wide receiver 3, which he was on the team at that time. And so I personally don't think that you necessarily said anything wrong in what you believed. And I respect, certainly even after he saw it, the fact that you defended your point of view, which I think anyone should do. If you say something online, you should back it. So I can certainly appreciate that as someone who would do this.
And for context also,
Please.
Back in 2020 when KJ arrived with the team, I had the opportunity to cover camp. This is during the COVID, and very few people were able to be at the TCO, and I was the only one who really spoke highly of KJ when he arrived as a rookie, and saw a promising roster spot, and so that he could contribute to the team. So there's also that precedent as well.
Yeah, no, totally. I love that back and forth. To kind of harp not on that particular topic, but just to kind of stay on sort of same wavelength. What is there a particular I don't know if you want to call it a prediction or anything on X or Twitter that you said that, other than the whole KJ Osborne thing, that maybe stands out to you the most as something that garnered way more response out of the Vikings Twitter community than you maybe thought it would? Because let's be honest. I'll give you a second to think about it. Let's be honest. You have said some things that people have definitely responded to. There's been some things that have kind of gone viral in the Vikings community, and that's what we love most about you. What I love most about you, anyway. But is there one that stands out to you more above and beyond than any of the others?
There's been so many of them. Just
the best answer.
To be honest, there's been so many of them that it's hard for me to think of one. Obviously the KJ incident was pretty widely known. But there's been others, and again, I would just say that my opinion, or whatever is that I share. At the end of the day, I feel like we're all trying to get to the same place, which is kind of what I said earlier. Be able to get to a Super Bowl, be able to get the team be successful, and be able to win a championship. That's what we all want. So
right.
I don't think by us coddling players, especially football players, I just don't think that's what's going to get us there. I just feel like we can be fans, and we can cheer for our team, and we can always try to prop them up, but at the same time we got to be able to be somewhat critical of what we see.
Yeah, I totally agree. Is there anything that you maybe said that you look back at and you're like, well, maybe I could have worded that differently? Not necessarily you regret it, but that you would have done differently at the time if you could?
Yeah, I spoken about this before. I was pretty harsh on if you guys remember Riley Reef. Riley Reef had a season where he kind of struggled, and it was the 2019 season. And I was pretty harsh with him until the following season in 2020. If you guys remember when he was sent home, when they were talking about the contract and this and that, and they say, well, you know what? why don't you just go home and we'll tell you if you're playing or whatever.
Mhm.
So right around that time is when Riley kind of basically shared, said, I'm a left tackle. I shouldn't have to be worried about doing my job in the left guard as well. I can't do two people's job every time. So he I think if you guys remember, he took a pay cut,
Mhm.
but then he kind of said, you know what, I'm just gonna worry about my guy, and the left guard can go flat kite if he wants. They got to fend for themselves. And Riley Reef had a fantastic 2020. So I did say that my lack of understanding of sometimes how that offensive line, kind of that cohesion has to is like a domino effect. If one guy is not pulling his weight, then it just kind of makes a snowball, and it just made Reef look really bad in 2019 because he had to cover for left guard that I'm not gonna name. But in 2020 he focused on his assignment, and he had a fantastic 2020, and I did publicly say that I was wrong with the way I judged him for the 2019 season.
It was Ezra Cleveland. You can name him. It's okay.
Actually, Cleveland came in 2020.
Oh, okay. Oh well.
So no, it wasn't Ezra.
Was that Dozier? Dakota Dozier?
Oh, it was.
Or no?
No.
Drew Samia?
I don't want to name him because I actually like the guy, and I thought he was a really nice guy.
All right.
But yeah, just look at 2019. You'll see.
Alex Boone wasn't on the team then. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I'll tag him in this video.
It was a converted center who broke his ankle, and they made him a left guard.
I don't know why I'm blanking right now.
Just Pat Elflein.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, Pat. Well, but yeah, that necessarily wasn't all on him. I would totally agree with that. And I will say, Riley even went on. He's still had a pretty successful career after leaving Minnesota. So it goes to show you the guy had talent. So there's no question there.
It was a domino effect situation.
1,000%.
Now you said Elflein, so we can say the name. But then it was also Gary Bradbury's first year at center. So
yeah.
Jonesy's a big Bradbury fan.
I've been the most critical about Garrett Bradbury. Like with the way you went viral with KJ Osborne, I'm ready to go viral with Garrett Bradbury right here now. Because
I think that's been Bradbury's issues. He's been surrounded by not like way below average guards, in my opinion. Like he's trying to do other people's jobs as well. That's my
I don't think so.
Maybe not.
I don't think so. I think he's been surrounded by talented guards, and he's made them worse.
What guards? What guards, Jonesy?
I really think Evan Ingram is a very talented guard. He has all the tools to be a successful guard in the NFL, and I don't think he has someone next to him snapping the ball who can stand his own. So he looks bad because it's really easy for someone to go a gap on him because he has no help.
What's his over and under? 2.5 times he steps on his quarterback's foot.
Look. That's going to happen out of a young player no matter what. That doesn't mean he's not a good guard. I don't know. I will die on that hill all day. You can't. And you know what? Garrett Bradbury said he put on a bunch of size this year. We'll see what happens. Clearly, this training camp, he's already gotten run over once or twice. So.
Well, he's gonna have.
I'm just tired. I'm tired of seeing. I'm
Dexter
so
Lawrence
tired. I'm so tired of seeing people running straight up the middle on our offensive line. It's the most annoying thing in the world. Like, for God's sakes, guys, like, let's beef up the O-line in the center just a little bit, some way, somehow. I don't know. Rick, do you not see it that way? I mean, let's be honest. You saw our running game last year. The whole world saw it. We had the worst. Alexander Madison was our starting running back. He didn't score a rushing touchdown. How does that happen in the NFL?
Well, a lot of that had to do with Alex. But when you speak on Bradbury as a player, I've always said that Garrett Bradbury is a very good center that can deal with teams that are from the middle and then going down from there. But when you match Garrett Bradbury against like the upper end of the defensive tackles, then he's absolute.
Like the Kenny Clarks of the world.
Yeah, I mean when you put it with the kid from Tennessee, Simmons, and Kenny Clark, or any of those guys that are Pro Bowlers, big time defensive tackles, Williams. Then Bradbury is toast. There's no question about that.
Yeah. And look, I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. Like, I think he knows where he's supposed to be on every play. I don't think it's a matter of him not understanding the game of football. I just think some people have the ability and some people don't. Like, I think he would probably be an amazing offensive line coach because he could probably coach anybody up to do the position the way it's supposed to be done. But I don't think he has the capabilities to play that position just because of his size. And I don't know. I think personally, as someone who played football in the collegiate level, Division III football, which means whatever it means to you. I don't know, but I did play on the next level, if you want to call it that. The one thing I could tell you about as a defensive lineman, every O-line we played, the better the center was, the better the whole O-line was overall. Because the center isn't just playing center and snapping the ball. The center is lining up the rest of the offensive line. They're reading the defense ahead pre-snap. The center is lining people up the way they're supposed to be lined up. And I think Bradbury does a good job of that for the most part. But then he lines them up right, and then you get Kenny Clark over him in the A gap, and he just falls flat on his butt. Like, it's not his fault. He's just not that big.
True.
That's my rant, I guess.
Very true.
Offensive line. I've probably had that rant 500 times already, but that's just where I'm at.
It's true. No, but Rick, we won't hold you hostage here any longer. Thank you for tuning in. It's gonna be an exciting season. Hopefully it works out. Like you said, Kevin O'Connell and this staff are probably going to go with their plan, especially at the quarterback position. But we'll see how it plays out.
Absolutely, it's always fun to see.
One Rick Sosa hot take before you leave.
Hot take. Boy, now you put me on the spot.
I did. I didn't even give you a prep time for this one.
No, I mean, I don't know if it's a hot take. I just do believe that McCarthy will be starting against Aaron Rodgers in London. That is my hot take.
That's the hottest of takes. I love it.
Love it. All right. Well, again, thanks, Rick. Thanks, Jonesy. Be prepared for some banger Rick Sosa tweets this upcoming season. We'll see you guys in the next one.